Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in again. I am Katie Batesman, the content director at SheCanCode, and today we're discussing empowering women in engineering at Redgate. I've got Imogen Taylor, a talented software engineer at Redgate with me here today, and she's going to discuss her journey at the company where she founded a women in engineering group. We're going to delve into the motivations behind creating the group, its goals and aims for the future, but also a bit about her own journey as a woman in tech, the challenges faced in the past, and her own experiences of working in engineering teams at Redgate. Welcome, Imogen. Lovely to have you on Spinning the Tea.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for joining me. We'd love to kick off with a bit of background about you, if that's okay, for our listeners. So can you share a bit about your background and how you got into software engineering?
Yeah, sure. So I actually started doing maths at uni. So I went to Bristol. And I was kind of always into maths at school.
Most people shy away from maths, right? What was
Yeah,
it about numbers?
yeah. For some reason, in year 11, I kind of it flipped, and I was like, oh, actually, I like this. Yeah, I remember I used to do it on holiday and stuff. I got really into it. Yeah.
Oh,
just like
wow.
just like puzzles and stuff. So I did that at uni, but then it kind of got pretty abstract. And I actually found I kind of liked the applied problem solving stuff. So I went and did a master's after that called engineering maths. And in that I got to do some robotics and scientific computing and stuff. So that was really cool. So that was my first intro to coding. I'd done some coding in my maths degree, but it wasn't taught very well, and it was funnily enough the only module I failed. But yeah, anyway, it went a lot
Not a
better.
good
And
introduction as to what you would actually be doing.
no,
Well, how frightening that people are being taught that. That
yeah,
could totally
yeah,
turn you off tech.
yeah, exactly. Luckily the masters went better. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just really kind of liked taking a problem and just using logic to solve it. And that and I yeah, and that came from maths, but then I also found I could do that with coding. So I just thought, oh, maybe I should try that as a career. And then yeah, basically just started trying to apply for jobs after a bit of a break after uni, and yeah, managed to get one in Cambridge. And and now I'm here kind of in my third job now as a software engineer. I've been at Redgate since December last year. So yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Well, I'm pleased that you went on to realize that it is great to work in tech and that you wanted to continue with that career. So many ladies, have a bad experience at university and just don't want to go
Mm,
on and even join the tech industry,
mm,
or then fall into tech and then think, actually, this isn't for me. But the majority of ladies, once they're in the workforce, they
mm.
realize what a great career it is. I know it's interesting you talking about as well how you were taught at uni, because we had 4 interns on here recently, and
Mm,
they said that their experience of university was nothing like when they went on their internship, and then when they actually moved into that company and they all secured jobs there, they said this was nothing like university. So it's trying to find something where there's a balance of you learn something useful at university, and you go into a role and still enjoy it and stay there as
mm.
well. But was that kind of your experience, that university wasn't really aligned with work, or
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to software engineering that's not just coding. Um, yeah, and I think especially in my maths degree, there was kind of barely any teamwork stuff, barely any people stuff that was taught. So it was kind of just, get through that theory, do it. And that was it. But it's no, that's not what it's like when you get into the job. There's so much more. There's collaboration, communication, organizing yourself, kind of the engineering concepts around it there's so much. So like I can see why people do like a full-on computer science degree, because there's
Yeah.
it's yeah.
It can be well, it can be quite challenging for to get young girls into the workforce. So yeah, that's kind of one of the hurdles, just to get them in once they've studied, if they've made it as far as university. We're going to go into your job a little bit in a little bit later on in this podcast, because we'd love to hear a little bit about you and your role at Redgate as well, and what that's like. But I wanted to ask you first, because you created a Women in Engineering group at Redgate. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. What inspired you to create that group?
Yeah, yeah, it's a good question. So as I said, I joined in December. And yeah, I'd say my first sort of few years as a software engineer were quite rocky. Like I went through some difficult experiences. So yeah, at that point I was feeling a little bit low confidence. But yeah, kind of on that first day, I'd gone through like induction stuff with HR and all that, and I got to the kind of engineering floor, and I didn't see any women. Like I just couldn't see any. And that that kind of like felt a bit jarring and a bit kind of a bit intimidating, because I was just like, wait, where are they? Where are the female engineers? um, and it was like it was December, so I think obviously some people were away for Christmas already and stuff. But yeah, so I think it was sort of that feeling, and then I'd spoken to someone, and they're saying, oh, there's a Slack thread for absolutely everything here. So I thought, oh, okay, there must be like a women in engineering one or something. But there wasn't. So yeah, I just sort of started asking around about it, and then a really kind of kind colleague that I'd met has just said, oh, why don't you just start one? So yeah, so that kind of got the ball rolling, and I spoke to the people team, spoke to them, spoke to one of the coaches, and they sort of all helped me just set it up. And and then we kind of had like our first like little lunch together.
How great that your team as well, the people that you went to ask about that were so open to it, and so yes, let's definitely do this. It was just kind of, the need was there, but it hadn't been done yet. So but so welcoming of you when you decided to go ahead and set it up.
It was really incredible, like the way people were about that. It just made it so easy, really, because I'd not done things like that before. So yeah.
So you have you mentioned that feeling of, when people join, that they can see that, and that the ladies, the work there are visible, and where to find them, and ask them their experiences. So on that note, what are the primary goals to the group, and how do you envision it evolving in the future?
So really it's kind of just a space for like women in engineering. So kind of the primary goal is to just kind of get us together, because we're so spread out across different teams. Especially it's difficult because it's like mostly a remote company, like people can only have to come in once every 2 weeks. So it's hard to have that visibility of other women engineers. So it's really just to get us together, talk about our experiences, learn about how we feel about things. Just have a space for that, really. So it's fairly casual at the moment, and like quite young, I would say. But I guess kind of in future it would be really nice to have it feel more established, and have it kind of properly regularly meet up, make sure day one that a woman joins engineering, like they know about it. We're still trying to figure out how to communicate that, pairing up, say, a junior and senior people to like mentor or give themed sessions, or see it evolving in that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And to share your experiences with one another as well, because
Mm,
the more you talk to people that are in a similar position that you are, or you realize actually, you know, when we all have those moments in work where you think it's the imposter syndrome moment, and you go,
mm,
somebody's going to find me out, somebody's going to know I'm not
mm,
meant to be here. And we all have those days. If you're in a group of other people that are similar, thinking similar things,
mm,
you can just share that and you realize it's not just you, and there are other people that have shared experiences, things that you're feeling, and can share experiences of what they've had in the past as well, because they might now be in a safe space where they can
mm,
share that
mm,
in their current company at Redgate, but they might have had experiences in the past that they've brought with them, that they'd love to, you know, share their pearls of wisdom with other ladies that are also working in tech. So it's given them the opportunity to do that.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And we actually had quite a good kind of remote session a couple months ago that was like, yeah, really talking about, you know, your experiences in the past or at Redgate. And yeah, it was kind of just that. It was like a lot of people felt really good about Redgate, but not about kind of companies they'd had experiences at in their past. So
Yeah.
that was a really good thing to hear. Yeah.
And to help the current ladies at Redgate, because you're right, if you've all come from different backgrounds and you've all
Mm,
found each other within Redgate, and you're not finding that to be a negative experience, but you can still draw upon previous experiences to ensure that, you know, no one coming in has anything like that.
mm,
Then you can share, you know, experiences in the past, so that doesn't happen. But it doesn't sound like it would anyway. Now with a support group, also ladies from different backgrounds, always super interesting as well, because I love that on this podcast that we get to speak with people from all different walks of life, and that some ladies are, you know, they come from a very strong computer science background, and then you get other ladies that transition into careers that are just nothing to do with tech, and they find
mm,
themselves working in the tech industry. And the more that you mix with peers in that way, the more that you hear those stories, and hear where they come from, and that people still have that stereotype that you have to be super nerdy and technical and be a coder to work in tech, and that is not always the case, and actually 9 times out of 10 is not the case to be working in tech. So
mm,
to
mm.
hear that from other people, you don't have that feeling of, is that just me? Am I the only
Yeah.
non-technical person in tech?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's like I say, like, yeah, I mean, really, I think the stereotype is just, you know, being that nerdy techie, I guess, cis male person. That stereotype, yeah, it's just kind of, it's not true. Like, it's actually really, like I was saying at the start, it's really helpful to have other skills around, yeah, communication and working with other people. And um, yeah, the stereotype is not actually, it doesn't actually fit. Like, you're not locked away in a room just coding on your own. Like, that's not how it works. So it is really good to, yeah, have people and women and you know, I've got male software engineer friends that have said the same. Like, they don't feel like they fit the stereotype, and it's like, no, that's a good thing. I mean, that's what diversity of thought is. And you know,
Yeah.
like you say, having people from different backgrounds really helps with kind of bringing different things. So yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. And obviously Redgate is a corporate ambassador of SheCanCode, so they're already very supportive of the wider tech industry as well, and encouraging more women into the tech space, and supporting the ladies at Redgate. But what do you think Redgate could be doing better, or is already working on, to attract more diverse talent?
Mm, mm. Yeah, I mean, I have to say I've been really impressed with what Redgate's already doing. I mean, yeah, so there's a dedicated like diversity and inclusion team and like an external consultant that we work with as well. Um, and yeah, it sounds like there's been a lot of work on recruitment and making that better. So I think stuff like inclusive language in like job descriptions. So like, yeah, not kind of gender coding it and having like, you know, stereotypically male wording that a woman might look at and think, oh, that's not me. You know, um, yeah, things like that. And there's a lot of conversations about it. We've got a new CEO recently who was kind of really keen to talk about it as well, so that was cool.
So it has to
Yeah,
come from the top down.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and even just recently we were talking about how we didn't have any women interns this year because Redgate recruits a lot from like their intern pool. Um, so yeah, I think they're gonna really make an effort to look into that and like why that is and how
Mm.
they can improve that as well.
Yeah,
Um,
which is the first step, and that's the thing.
mm,
The companies that are just taking the time to think like,
mm,
why is that happening, and what can we do to address that? And there are so many companies that are struggling to find a diverse workforce, and it is just the first step of thinking, well, let's actually take a look at that. As you said, have a dedicated team which you have at Redgate, and then finding a way of how are we going to address this and
mm,
make sure that we move towards a more diverse team. Because it's a challenge of all companies, but it's how do you do it and how do you measure your impact along the way as well.
mm,
Some companies we have noticed that SheCanCode, they'll tick that box. They'll think, oh, you know, we tick the box and we're doing something, and they'll send. We love they'll send one like tweet out on International Women's Day to congratulate everybody, and that's it. You know, that's the only thing that you do. So
mm,
making sure that you not only notice that there's a problem, but actually, you know, doing something all year round and measuring your impact
mm.
as well is it takes a lot, and it's not something that just happens overnight. It's something that will take, you know, several years to build into a company, but it's definitely a good start.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really impressed with like how much they're talking about it. Um, yeah, I mean, also not to mention kind of what you get once you join Redgate as well. Like they just treat you so well.
Mm.
I've really found that like incredible. So
Mm. They must work really hard to retain their
yeah,
staff as well. By the sounds of it, they know that there is a shortage of women in tech. So once they get you, they're gonna work to retain you, definitely.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's what all companies should really be trying to do, like retaining the women that they get. Like it's important. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are a lot of challenges, obviously, though, for the women that do work in the tech industry.
Mm.
There are challenges along the way. So, what do you think are the biggest challenges for women
Mm.
that work in the engineering field today?
Yeah, yeah, it's a great question. I think like, yeah, I mean, it's such a big problem, but I think, you know, the portrayal of roles that women should have in society is still, it's just so ingrained. Like, just from when you're born, like you get flooded with information from parents, the media, friends, like, oh, this thing is suited more to women, this thing is suited more to men, you know, like boys are given the like engineering toy that you construct and then little girls are given dolls and you know, yeah, I think there's still a lot of subtle messaging like that that really influences it. And I think that's like a big challenge. I think that's starting to change, but you know, it takes a long time. Um, and yeah, and you know, we're still finding that like much fewer women are going into STEM than men. And I think that's a big part of it. And yeah, and even something I was thinking about recently is like even the media that is out there already of, you know, great women scientists or engineers in film or media, they're usually the smartest person in the room, or they've like gone through like great strife
Mm.
to, you know, get to where they are, and they're incredibly amazing. But I'm like, where are the like normal average women?
Yeah,
Like it's just, and you know, it's great to see that portrayal, but I
it's
almost want
very
it.
hard to relate.
It's so, yeah, I just look at them and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm not like that. You know, I'm not the smartest person in the room. How can I feel like I deserve to be here when that's kind of the only representation you see, or like a younger girl might see? So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's quite a big challenge, one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why we launched our awards program this year, because there are lots of lists for senior ladies, and it's quite hard when you look at a list for senior women that work in tech and they are CIOs and CTOs, and you might not even want to reach that level yourself anyway, but
Mm,
trying to relate to somebody that has been in work that long, who is in a position that perhaps you're not actually interested in being that high up, it's quite hard to think, is that where I'm meant to be? And how do I you know, take any inspiration from that? It's amazing that she's doing amazing things, but that's, I
mm,
don't really see myself in that position. So we deliberately created the awards so it showcases more junior levels, or throughout people's career stages. So just to highlight the ladies that are doing something earlier in their careers as well, because they're still doing amazing things, but it's more of an inspiration for people to see, you know, somebody
mm,
might be a rising star, and they've already done great things, and it's something to aspire to. But you know, that lady's only been in work a couple of years already, so it's almost easier to relate to role models at a
mm.
lower at an earlier stage in their career, than always seeing the you know, greatest female CIO in tech, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's
We
a
love those lists
really,
as well, but you can't relate.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's a really good point. I think, yeah, it's important to see role models that are relatable. And yeah, I know Redgate sponsored the Develop Her Awards as well. So I've been seeing that
Mm.
kind of come up. But again, yeah,
Yeah, that's
I
a brilliant
still,
awards. Yes, we love that one.
yeah, but I think again, I still feel that imposter syndrome. So I'm like, oh, you know, I'm not gonna, I can't engage with this because what would I get an award? Or do you know what I mean? Like it,
Yeah,
so maybe this is good. Maybe this will get me to,
push you to nominate.
yeah,
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 nominate yourself.
exactly.
And to
Or
remember to
yeah,
nominate other people as well,
yeah,
because if somebody nominated you, then you'd be like, oh God, actually, I'm meant to be on that list. It's so everybody helping each other, of you nominate and somebody nominates you.
yeah.
Just remembering, yeah, to help each other along the way. Because you're right, you had that feeling of, do I want to enter myself for this? Am I meant to be on this list? It's
Yeah, or like who is this? Yeah, like who is this for? Like, is it for,
mm,
you know, yeah, early career? Yeah, because I can think of a couple people that I would nominate, but again, yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, I guess I haven't kind of engaged with it in that way. So
yeah,
yeah, that's a
yeah,
good.
it's definitely a tough
Mm.
one.
Mm.
And what advice would you give to women who are considering a career in software engineering? So they haven't got in just yet, they're not considering an awards process just yet, but they're thinking about it. So any advice or anything that you wish somebody had told you before you went into engineering?
Um, yeah, I think what I would say is it's important to kind of learn, it's going to sound cheap, but like learn who you are and learn how you work best and really try and fit the company to you. And I guess that might mean not prioritizing salary or not prioritizing, something really cool that the company's doing. I think being in engineering, especially early career, can be quite challenging, because there's so much to learn and it does take time for you to become like really useful and stuff. So find a company that really like works for you and the way that you want to work. That's really valuable, because then it will give you that space to grow and be supported. That might mean kind of trying a few companies, like as I say, this is my third company, and I finally actually feel okay, whereas I think in my first two I didn't. So
suddenly you reach a company and you go, yep.
yeah, you're like, oh, thank God, relief.
Sigh of relief where you can just everything else about it is great and you can get on with your job instead of worrying about other things. That's kind of once you've been through a couple of companies, you then have that sigh of relief where you reach somewhere and go, oh thank goodness.
And I think also it's basically really just important to back yourself, like no matter what. Like, interviews are hard. When you join, like I say, it's challenging, there's a lot to learn. I think it's really important to just have in yourself, like, if I have the right information, if I have the right space, and backing yourself is really like having that sense of like, you can do things if you have the right information, the right support, the right space to do your job. You're in a job and you're in meetings and you don't really know what the hell's going on. Like, actually coming back to that, like, it might not be your fault. Like, usually it's like people aren't communicating at the right level, or other people don't know what's going on either. So it's just kind of in these different situations, just remembering that, because I think I struggled with that for like a long time, and I've had some coaching and I do feel better about that now. But
like, is it me? Am I the only one that's not
I
picking
guess
up
that
what's in here? What's going on? I found as well when I've been at companies, and I've been in meetings that I've been confused about, some companies and some teams, you go along with people like meetings for meetings' sake. And I come out of them thinking, well, why did we have that? And we haven't moved forward. And it's okay a couple of times, but once you start to realize that's going to be the whole year for you, and you come out feeling like I haven't achieved anything, that's not a place that you want to stay. I mean, me personally, I like to know that we're moving forward and ticking things off our list and we have something to show for it. I think it's just some company cultures, it's kind of meetings and meetings, and you quickly think, this isn't for me. It's not necessarily wrong, but it's just not for me. And I'm not really picking up anything from what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. About you and your future, where do you see yourself in the next few years?
So yeah, like I say, I'm really trying to cultivate that like confidence in myself, and like this year I'm trying to go for promotion at work, so try and get up to the next level of software
Exciting,
engineering.
yeah.
So and that's been really good. Like, my manager's been really helpful with just telling me how to do that, the process and stuff, so trying to work my way up.
It sounds like you get a lot of support as well to help you to the next stage of your career. So it doesn't sound like you've been dropped in and you're not quite sure what's going to happen next. So
I mean, it's incredible. Like, I get a line manager one-to-one like every week if I want it, which is amazing. We formed our team, and my manager put on like the thing called Manual of Me, if you've heard of that. It's where you like, everyone kind of says how they work best and things they find difficult, and that was amazing. So
Yeah.
I could kind of say what I wanted in that. And yeah, and I think at the moment there's like a mural that's kind of showing every member of the team's like goals, so I can put that promotion goal on there. And
On there and reach it. Oh wow.
yeah, it's been really supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is a lovely, supportive, positive note to end it on, because we're already out of time. I keep picking your brains on being a software engineer at Redgate, but we are already out of time. So thank you so much, Imogen, for coming on, having a chat, sharing a little bit about you and your challenges so far. And we'll have to have you back when you get your promotion and see what that is like. So thank
Fingers
you so
crossed.
much.
Oh, thank you so much.
And to everybody listening, as always, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again next time.